Well, it may be the main stumbling block on the road to Copenhagen and beyond. Critics complaining that the U.S. should not join any international emissions treaty unless China does the same. But already that country is taking significant steps toward reducing its emissions through efficiency and renewables generation. Clean Skies' Tyler Suiters was at a forum today talking exactly about how China is cutting its CO2 output. So, Tyler, one of the major steps was back in 2005.
Exactly, Susan. Just 4 years ago, that is when China enacted a national energy reduction target. And U.S. observers say that through demand-side management, very deliberate demand-side management, China may well hit that target next year. Now, among those taking part of the discussion today, Lynn Price. She is a staff scientist at the Lawrence Berkeley Lab here in the U.S. She says she and her team have just completed a study about this target and say the Chinese energy reduction effort may indeed be judged a success by the end of next year.
We just did an evaluation of a number of the programs that were implemented in support of this target, and we see a lot of progress in China. They have put in place a number of programs in the industrial sector, the building sector, in order to help the provinces, the localities to meet the overall provincial level targets.
Forging a path forward, Stephen Chu's visit to China in June. Now, objectively, this tour accomplished nothing other than a bilateral memorandum of understanding on energy efficiency cooperation. Subjectively, a different story. The well-publicized visit played especially well in China, and it signaled a willingness from both countries to seek common ground.
It's a framework for further cooperation. It has symbolic importance because it's the first time that the U.S. and China have signed a memorandum of understanding that mentions climate. So that's a breakthrough. And it's on the part of the Chinese. They have, of course, decided that they stand to benefit from cooperation on climate change. But of course, the devil is in the details. So how is this MOU going to be implemented?
MOUs aside, this is the elephant in the bilateral room. That is China's pollution. Back in December, the Wilson Center announced that China had surpassed the U.S. as the world's most prolific emitter of CO2. But according to the NRDC, if China hits that energy reduction target for 2010, the country would avoid emitting 1.5 billion tons of CO2. And remember, before President Obama arrives in Copenhagen for international climate talks in December, he is scheduled to visit China in November.
It's difficult to say that there's going to be a major, gigantic breakthrough on U.S.-China climate relations. Ta-da! I mean, because Obama has only been in office for under a year, and there's a lot of work that needs to move forward. But I think what's really vital is that finally, at the high level, there's going to be talk about having true energy cooperation, building on the MOU that was signed this summer, and hopefully this will really put a fire under that MOU, in not burning it, but really moving it forward, that we're going to have something concrete coming out of it.
If efficiency agreements are the present, carbon capture and storage projects like this Mountaineer plant research in West Virginia, they may be the future here. In a new report, the NRDC says China has the technology and it has the geology as well to be a world leader in CCS, potentially storing more than 3,000 gigatons of CO2. But the Council report says reaching that goal hinges on cooperation from the United States and that the U.S. is well positioned to play a key role.
China also has a number of oil fields where the CO2 can be tested to use to enhance the oil recovery potential. So here's an area where you're going to get some economic benefit from storing the carbon CO2 underground. The U.S., on the other hand, has a lot of expertise in the storage of other types of products. The U.S. Geologic Survey has a deep level of expertise in this area in a number of issues that China doesn't have and can benefit from.
Now, I want to go back to Barbara Finnemore from NRDC just for a moment because she neatly summed up the Chinese approach to innovation through efficiency. She said she recently heard Tom Friedman speaking out on the West Coast about what drives U.S. technological innovation. He says if there's a will in the U.S., there is a way to get it done. Finnemore turns it around, Susan. She says the Chinese approach is that if there is a way to reach technological innovation, there is a will from the state and from, in fact, the entire country and private industry to get it done.
Well, Tyler, if not enough senators here are convinced, I guess in some sense China's success in reducing its energy use might not really matter as far as Copenhagen goes.
Exactly. Right back to the stumbling block, Susan, and the fact that the Senate will have to ratify any treaty reached in terms of a post-Kyoto emissions agreement. David Doniger with the NRDC was also on hand for today's discussion, and he said that he sees 10 to 20 senators who need to be convinced, this is in his mind, that China and India are indeed taking independent action working toward reducing their own emissions outside of any international treaty. So I asked him, without saying who are these senators, exactly what the numbers are, whom he needs to convince, and how he makes his sales pitch. And he was very straightforward about this, saying that there are some senators that he calls unreachable. They are not changing their minds on this issue no matter what. But he did say there are 3 essential points in Waxman-Markey, the House climate bill, and he expects these to be in the Kerry-Boxer Senate climate bill as well, that will assuage some of these senators. And Susan, he pointed out specifically those 10 senators who signed a letter. Sherrod Brown was the headliner for this, regarding U.S. manufacturing. He calls these brown dog Democrats. Those are his targets. He says if we can get them on board, we should be able to get any ratification through the Senate after Copenhagen.
Okay. Clean Skies, Tyler Suiters, thank you.